Hello, my name is Father Lawrence Jagfeld. I am a Franciscan friar of the Sacred Heart Province and the administrator of CUSA, an apostolate of persons with chronic illness and/or disability. We have reached the 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time, and on this Sunday we continue to read from the Gospel of St. Mark. However, the scene has changed. At this point in St. Mark's Gospel, Jesus has reached Jerusalem. And so the scenes that we will be listening to in the forthcoming Sundays are all taken in the context of Jesus' last days in Jerusalem. One of the scribes came to Jesus and asked him, "Which is the first of all the commandments?" Jesus replied, "The first is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." The scribe said to him, "Well said, teacher, you are right in saying, He is one, and there is no other than He. And to love Him with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is worth more than all burnt offerings and sacrifices." And when Jesus saw that he answered with understanding, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of heaven." And no one dared to ask him any more questions. This particular scene from the Gospel is different than any other conversation Jesus has had with the Jewish authorities, the Pharisees, or the scribes throughout the course of this Gospel. It is marked in its difference by the fact that this is not a confrontation between two different authorities. These two people, the lawyer, the scribe, and Jesus, are in agreement. And unlike any of the other conversations, Jesus gives a very direct answer to the question posed by this man. There is no equivocation. There is no riposte, no insult offered before Jesus answers the question. And once Jesus has answered the man's question, it is obvious that the two are in accord. The question is one of love of God and love of neighbor. The two commandments, one taken from the book of Deuteronomy, the other taken from the book of Leviticus. For our Western world, our introspective world, the word love, as well as the word hate, brings with it all kinds of emotion, affections, and all sorts of psychological or inner kinds of feelings. For the Mediterranean world, for this non-introspective people, for this people that looks only to externals, this concept would be completely foreign. They looked for concrete external signs when it came to love and to hate. And for them, it was a matter of real attachment, loyalty, fidelity. This is what love meant. When we hear the great commandment, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one," we might think immediately that this is a declaration of monotheistic faith. But it really isn't. For these people, when they say the Lord is one, they are saying that God is the only one to whom they will pay homage. There is no question of being attached to or loyal to any of the other gods of this history, of this period of time of this locale, their God is the only one that they will be attached to, the only one that they will be loyal to, the only one that they will be faithful to. And in return, these people expect God to be faithful to them. The same can be said of the word hate. At other points in the gospel, Jesus tells us that we must hate mother and father, hate our spouses, our children, our brothers and sisters. We find this very difficult. We Westerners find this very difficult to understand how Jesus could use such a word in talking about our relationships to people who are members of our family. What he's asking us to do is not so much an emotional response, not so much a matter of affection or lack of affection, but rather to choose Jesus as our priority, to be attached to him above all others, to be loyal to him above all others, to be faithful to God above all others. So this gospel really speaks about devotion. It really speaks about loyalty. It really speaks about our attachment to God. And that attachment is total. With all our mind, with all our strength, with all our body, with all our soul, we are to be God's children above all else. Jesus and the man in this gospel passage are in total accord. And so Jesus does something at the end of this gospel that he has never done to any of those people with whom he has had such conversations. He bestows upon him an honor, a public honor. He tells him that he is not far from God's kingdom. He does this within the hearing of all those people who have gathered to hear him. This man leaves this conversation as a person who has been honored not only by Jesus, but by God himself. And consequently, he bears that honor in his community. We too look to be honored by God, to be blessed by God, to be chosen by God. Jesus tells us the way, only if we love God and love neighbor above ourselves and above all of our other attachments to this world. For more information about CUSA, please go to our website at www.cuson.com.